So now that we have seen a few aspects about fixed exchange rate and floating exchange rate that have played a vital role in the Asian financial crisis, now is a good time to understand how actually currency is valued. Okay, so when we say $1 is equal to 45, $1 is equal to 65 rupees. So how is it valued? How is currency valued? Why is $1 not 60 rupees or 70 rupees? What is the 65? How is currency valued? Let us see. Okay, so some countries may decide to use a pegged exchange rate that is set and maintained artificially by the government. So it means this rate will not fluctuate intraday. It may be reset on particular days known as revaluation dates. So governments of emerging markets usually do this to create stability in the value of the currency. But in order to keep that pegged forex rate stable, the governments must hold large reserves of forex currency. Okay, in order to control the changes in supply and demand. Okay, so when we talk of how currency is valued, we're talking of only floating exchange rate. Okay, because in a fixed exchange rate anyway, the value will not change; it is fixed. Okay, so when we say how currency is valued, we are referring to the floating exchange rate system, where the market forces will determine the exchange rate. Governments are not controlling it. So there are countries, geopolitical and economic announcements that affect the exchange rate between two countries. But a few of the most popular include interest rate decisions, unemployment rates, inflation reports, GDP numbers, manufacturing information, current account deficit figures as we have seen in the East Asian crisis. Okay, so the floating exchange rate depends on the demand and supply factors. So let us see some of the factors. So one is trade balance. So say for example, India does both imports and exports. We do a lot of imports, we do a lot of exports. Let us say take for example the dollar-rupee exchange rate. So India imports a lot of goods from US. It also exports some goods to US. This difference between the value of exports and imports, as we discussed earlier, is called trade balance. Okay, trade balance can be positive or negative. Positive means our exports are more than imports. We are exporting as a country more than what we're importing from US. This is vis-a-vis a particular country. Trade balance of India vis-a-vis US is positive or negative. Positive means we are exporting more than we are importing from US. Negative trade balance with respect to US means we are importing more from US than we are exporting to US. Okay, so that is a positive and negative trade balance. So what happens if there is a positive trade balance? If we are exporting more to the US than we are importing, positive trade balance means it will result in higher demand for rupee. Okay, because we are exporting more. So the people who are importing in US, they have to pay to the Indian exporters in rupees. So now the demand for Indian rupee will increase. So this will result in rupee appreciation. On the other hand, if the trade balance is negative, for example, we are importing more than we are exporting to US. So how are we going to pay the US exporters? We have to pay in dollars, which means the demand for dollars is more. Then this will result in the depreciation of rupee. Okay, so understand this point. Positive trade balance means we are exporting more than we are importing, in which case the demand for rupee will be more, in which case the rupee will appreciate. Okay, its value will increase. On the other hand, if the trade balance is negative, we are importing more than we are exporting, which means the demand for dollar is more. Because our importers have to pay to the US exporters. So demand for dollar will be more, in which case the rupee will depreciate or weaken. That is one of the factors that affects the exchange rate, trade balance. Other is interest rates. So if interest rates in India are higher than US, funds will come to India. So again, this will result in demand for rupee, so rupee will appreciate. Inflation rate. If inflation in India increases relative to US, rupee will depreciate, and vice versa. Speculation. There are a lot of traders in the forex market who do speculation. Okay, this can influence the exchange rate. For example, if the political situation is highly unstable in India, say elections are about to come and it's expected that the ruling government may lose power, so then investors are uncertain about the political environment, though they might decide to shift their funds from India to other places like US. So in this case, demand for dollar will increase, so rupee will depreciate against dollar. Okay, so all these are the factors that affect the exchange rate. And note that in the above cases, when we say depreciate, it means what it means depreciate against dollar. It means it now takes more rupees to buy $1 than before. Okay, so say if earlier the exchange rate was $1 is to 65 rupees. It means to get $1 we have to pay 65 rupees. Okay, but when we say $1 is equal to 65.25 rupees, normally you might think that is a positive development because 65.25 is more than 65. But in forex market that is not the case. This is a negative trend. Okay, because now you have to give 65.25 rupees to get that same $1. it means rupee has depreciated. Not, this is not a positive development. Okay, get this point very clear. Just because 65.25 is more than 65, don't think that this is a good thing for the rupee. Actually, rupee has depreciated, because to get $1, we now have to pay more rupees to get the same $1. Okay, so rupee has depreciated. Similarly, earlier if the exchange rate was $1 to 65, and now it is $1 to 64.91, say, it means rupee has appreciated against the dollar. Okay, so in this chapter, the questions to be prepared are: what is pegged exchange rate? We have seen that. What are some factors that affect the exchange rates between two countries? We've seen some 4 to 5 factors. Explain how does trade balance affect rupee dollar exchange rate, that we discussed. If interest rate in India is higher than in US, will rupee appreciate or depreciate? So if interest rate is higher in India, then funds will come to India, which will result in demand for rupee, so rupee will appreciate. If inflation in India increases related to US, then will rupee appreciate or depreciate? In this case, rupee will depreciate. If the dollar rupee exchange rate changes from $1 to 65 to $1 to 64.83, does it mean rupee has appreciated or depreciated? It means rupee has appreciated, because now we need to give only a lesser amount, 64.83, to get the same $1.